All right, let's talk about one of the most feared topics for nursing students, chest tubes. I know, they can seem super intimidating, but I promise we're going to break this down piece by piece so you can walk into your exams feeling confident. Let's get right into it. So here's our game plan. First, we're hitting the fundamentals, the absolute must-know basics. Then, we'll decode that three-chamber system and really zero in on the water seal chamber. From there, we'll talk about your role, what you need to do as the nurse, run through some scary emergency scenarios, and wrap it all up with a clinical judgment challenge to put your new skills to the test. Okay, let's start at square one. Before we even get into the nuts and bolts of the equipment, we have to understand the big picture. What exactly is a chest tube? And more importantly, why would a patient ever need one? Here's the bottom line. The space around our lungs is supposed to have negative pressure. That's what keeps them nice and inflated. But if air or blood or some other fluid gets in there, that pressure is lost and the lung can start to collapse. A chest tube is basically a specialized straw that we use to get all that junk out so the lung can do its job again. Simple as that.
Okay, get your highlighters out because these are huge for your exams. You are absolutely gonna see these terms. Pneumothorax is air, hemothorax is blood. Pleural effusion is fluid. You get the idea. It doesn't really matter what it is, the problem is the same. Something is in the pleural space that shouldn't be, and we've got to get it out.
And where we put the tube actually matters a lot. Just think about basic physics, right? Air rises and fluid sinks. So if we're trying to get air out from a pneumothorax, we're going to go up high in that second or third intercostal space. But if we're draining blood or fluid, we go lower down, around the fourth or fifth to let gravity do the work. All right, let's meet the machine, the drainage system. I know, it looks complicated with all its chambers and tubes, but it's actually super logical once you know what each part is for. Let's just follow the flow. So think of it like a journey. Everything comes out of the patient and straight into the first box, the collection chamber. From there, any air keeps moving into the second box, the water seal chamber, which is like a one-way door. And finally, the third box, the suction control chamber, is what's setting the level of suction for the whole system. So let's talk about chambers 1 and 3. For the collection chamber, your job is simple. Mark that output every single hour. And if you suddenly see a huge jump in bright red drainage, that's a massive red flag for a hemorrhage. You need to call the provider immediately. Now, over in the suction control chamber, gentle continuous bubbling is actually a good thing. It's our sign that the suction is on and working just like it's supposed to. All right, this is it, the main event. If you are going to master one single part of the system, make it this one. The water seal chamber is the system's tattletale. It's going to tell you if something is wrong. This is where the money is for your exams. You've got to know the difference between these two things. On the left, we've got tidaling. See how the water level just gently rises and falls with the patient's breath? That's beautiful. It means the system is working. But on the right, continuous bubbling. That is an alarm bell. It means there's an air leak somewhere, either from the patient or in the tubing. Let's burn this into your brain right now. Just repeat it to yourself. Tidaling tells me it's working. Bubbling bad, unless it's the suction chamber. That one little phrase will save you so much confusion and help you get those tricky questions right. Okay, time for a little critical thinking. We just said tidaling is good, right? So what on earth could it mean if it just stops? This one's a little tricky because it's not as obvious as an air leak. What do you think is going on? Well, it could be one of two very different things. It could be bad news, like there's a kink in the tubing somewhere and the system is blocked, or it could be great news. It could mean the lung has totally re-expanded and the problem is fixed. See why you have to assess your patient and not just stare at the machine? Okay, we've got a handle on how the system works. Now let's shift gears and talk about you. What are your absolute, non-negotiable responsibilities as the nurse caring for this patient? This is the golden rule right here. Patient first, equipment second. Always. The machine can show you're bubbling, but the patient's breathing, their O2 sats, their lung sounds, that tells you how serious the problem is. Assess the human before you assess the hardware every single time. And here's your day-to-day checklist. First, gravity is your best friend. Keep that whole unit below the level of the patient's chest. Keep the tubing straight so nothing gets blocked. And don't forget, the whole point is to help that lung work again. So getting your patient to cough, deep breathe, and use that incentive spirometer is a huge part of your job. All right, take a deep breath. We are now entering the what-if zone, the stuff that can go wrong. And you know the NCLEX loves to ask about these high-stakes emergencies, so let's get you ready for them. This is a classic NCLEX question. The tube pulls right out of the patient's chest. What do? First, slap a sterile dressing over that hole. But here's the critical part. You only tape it on 3 sides. This creates a little flutter valve so air can get out of the chest, but it can't get sucked back in.
Let this be your mantra. 3 sides taped saves lives. Why? Because if you tape all 4 sides, you could trap air inside the chest and cause a tension pneumothorax, which is a massive, life-threatening emergency. So remember, 3 sides only.
Okay, scenario number 2. The tube is still in the patient, but it pops off the drainage system. Your immediate first action is to grab the end of that tube and stick it in a bottle of sterile water. That creates an emergency water seal and stops air from rushing back into the patient's chest while you get a new system. And here is a big, flashing, neon sign rule. We do not routinely clamp chest tubes. Ever. Clamping that tube is like putting a cork in a bottle that's building up pressure. If the patient has an air leak, you can cause a tension pneumothorax so fast. Just don't do it unless you have a very specific order. Okay, you made it. You've absorbed a ton of info. Now it's time to put it all together and think like a nurse. Let's tackle a next-gen NCLEX style scenario. Here's the situation. You walk into your patient's room, they have a chest tube for a pneumothorax. A minute ago, it was titling nicely, but now you see this. Non-stop, angry-looking bubbling in the water-sealed chamber. You quickly check their vitals, and good news, they're stable, for now. So, based on everything we just covered, what do? You've identified the problem, there's a big air leak, you know the patient is stable at this moment. What is your very first priority action as the nurse? What's your next move?